According to Putin, new NATO member Finland didn't have problems before, but now it will. So, yeah, apparently they've got beef now. Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Finland is now going to have problems because it joined NATO on the same morning that he claimed to not be interested in fighting any NATO members. In an interview with state-run television, Putin promised that Russia will create a Leningrad military district on the border with Finland and concentrate forces there. Why do they need this, he says. And Putin nevertheless claimed that he had no territorial disputes with NATO countries. Earlier, he responded to U.S. President JB's statement that Russia will not stop with Ukraine by calling it nonsense. JB's remarks were backed by the history of Putin's Russia, which has sponsored many proxy movements in neighboring states, trying to create breakaway regions and deploying Russian troops there to, quote, protect the inhabitants. Russia is currently occupying parts of Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova. Obviously, folks know if you're outside the U.S. and you're probably like, wait, that sounds kind of like the U.S. If you're in the U.S., you're like, yeah, damn right it is. But they can't do what we do. Again, this is something that is not going well. As far as Putin and the whole NATO thing, many people believe that he is getting pushed into a war with NATO. Just tell me what you think in the comments below. We got a lot to cover tonight. In fact, we are going to be covering so many crazy things that we're going to try to skip some of this and go over the headlines because there is just so much to go over tonight. So stick around. We will be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Somebody said, call it like it is. Well, you know, everybody's afraid of being, being accused of carrying Putin's water. I think there's a lot more people that are not necessarily demonizing Russia itself. Russia itself, the Russian people, they have the same blood as us. They have the same, all the same background. All of us humans here on Earth, we all go back to a certain kind of tied together, creator, right? As far as where we were born, we don't get to choose that. As far as the Russian people, the Chinese people, there's a lot of good Chinese people. There's a lot of good Russian people. There's a lot of good people from all over the world. As far as the governments that run them, the mainstream media is heavily pushing us to, the whole Putin is evil, Putin is this and that. Putin isn't a good guy. If you know his history, he was KGB. How he got into power was really shady, just all sorts of things. But people are afraid to say, because, well, first of all, nowadays, if you say anything about the USA, you could be put on a list. You can love the USA, you can love America, you can be absolutely proud to be American, which you should be, and still question the decisions that our governments make, because our government supposedly are all people that were put into place by the decisions that people made temporarily. And that's why they all have terms, right? So these are human beings making decisions for our country. And there's supposed to be this huge system set up so that, we all have this great setup to where a democracy to where we all make good decisions, right? And have checks and balances. But we know if you're on this channel, or if you've done any research at all throughout history, going back to JFK and 2,000 years before, or 200 years before, you know that our country has invaded more countries, done more proxies, gotten involved in more countries than anybody else's. We have more bases around the world than any other country. So I think it's crazy not to at least see the other side of it. But how are you going to see the other side? You can't see RT. You can't see other countries' news stations. You get what is filtered through to you. And once you realize that the information is being filtered, if you control the information, you control the people. If you control the narrative, you control the world. So that's what I believe is happening right now. And so many people are afraid of questioning the U.S. because then that would put them in this group of people that are supporting the other side. The same thing is happening with right versus left. Even if you question the left, then, are you the R word? You don't like this kind of people then? Right now, the current one is if you question the actions going on with a certain country, then you are anti this or anti that. People should be able to question these things, and it's always about a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later. Look at CV. When if you question things, then you were this. Well, now, looking back, there were a lot of mistakes made. There were a lot of things happen. I know a lot of people that were affected by CV. They lost their businesses. They are never going to be the same. Their lives, their lives are never going to be the same. And it's because more people did not question what the hell was going on during those years. Now everybody does, but the grift has already been done. But as far as like what's going on right now with Russia and all of this going on, I guess I'm kind of, it's so crazy because people are just kind of pushed it away. Nobody even cares about this now. Now everybody they've got a new profile picture on their Facebook. They're moved on. But yet, what happened to all of our billions of dollars? The billions of dollars they say that we'll be paying off for the rest of our lives. What happened to that? That's what pisses me off. Did it go to a good use? Oh, wait, we know it didn't. We know that billions of dollars got filtered out and bought supercars and bought mansions for people that were working directly under the guy trying to lead the country, or supposedly leading the country. We know that the recruitment offices that were supposed to be getting new people to fight this conflict for our national security and for world global security, those recruitment offices took billions of dollars and then fed those off to other people too. So our tax dollars got filtered out to buy, Ferraris. That is absolute, and it should be talked about. Thank you guys. Let's do a quick roll call. We got a lot of great Foogle fam here. Thank you guys for joining us. We're just asking questions, and we're gonna ask a lot of questions tonight because man, there's a lot to cover. So we're gonna skip through. We're gonna go over some of the headlines, and then let's do a quick roll call. Just general state. Where are you from? And of course, if you want the full bibliography for today's show, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com. You'll see today's thumbnail: 2000s versus the 2020s. Of course, camo man compared to thirst trap soldier there. We are in big trouble. TikTok army. Once you click on that, you will find that you have every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. J-Pass from California. We've got John Hurd. Kim O'Donnell, Utah is here. We've got little Stumpy from Anderson, South Carolina. Nice to see you. We've got the Naughty Kitten. What's happening? Rita Fox, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Rob, beautiful place there. I've got family in Sioux Falls and Sioux City. Bahamas, Springtown, Texas. We've got LJ from Georgia. We got South St. Louis, baby. What is happening? Big Trouble in Little China. Wolves 55. Thank you for being here. Ohio, OHIO. Thank you for being here. And Kalamazoo, Michigan, Minnesota, South Carolina, Bella Vista, Arkansas, Northwest Missouri in the house. We've got Trish Hooper. Thank you, CB. Icaroticus from Hudson, Florida. Springtown, Texas. Fayetteville, Pennsylvania, and Washington State, of course, locals. Texarkana. Texarkana, is that a real place? Texarkana? Is that like Alabama and Texas together? Texarkana, Arkansas, Alabama, all in one? That would be I would love to live there. Indianapolis, Indiana. Thank you. OKC, Oklahoma City, New Hampshire, and on terrible. That's awesome. And then aloha from Kilauea Volcano. Speaking of volcanoes, we have a volcano that just erupted. We'll talk about that here in a second. But first, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So I put this at the very beginning. The Ray Kachans, or no, it's not called that. It's a giant Iceland volcano. Now, we talked about this before. In fact, if you go back to the previous shows, you can actually type in Iceland volcano at marfooglenews.com, and you'll see I looked back myself. You could see all the shows that we covered, all of these swarms that they had. They had earthquake swarms, and one of them that we covered back November 15th, about exactly a month ago, was a piece that said that they had 800 earthquakes in a day. That was actually the news so much that people got bored of it. They're like, yeah, another earthquake swarm, hundreds of earthquakes this day. But now it has actually erupted. What we talked about then is the kind of worst case scenario is it actually could stop. It could disrupt planes and flight travel. But I don't know if it is to that point yet. Dex, do we have a more up-to-date update on this?
No, it's just happened. It's really fresh.
Because I did have the earliest one I found was 15 hours ago. But maybe that was before when it was just starting. And then let's see here. Let's see. And remember to go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. You can find all of our wonderful mods. I saw Trinity is in the house. Said, God help everyone. Briar Patch, what is happening? Gunslinger and Doomsday Player. You got all sorts of great people down there. Make sure to go check out Aaliyah's channel, Chance's channel, and of course he's got his books all over on Amazon. CJ Blaze, Jammer. Of course, Lisa R. Hall, Rip Curl Readiness, Bones is over there, RGL Harris, and of course, Wages World. And then tonight, before we get started, make sure if you haven't already, if you want to make a Christmas video and add a Christmas greeting about 15 to 20 seconds long, upload a 20-second video. You can do it unlisted on YouTube. It's very easy. Anybody with a cell phone can do this. Cell phone, say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever greeting you want to do. If you want to be a part of it, any Fugle family can do this. Upload it to YouTube. If you want to do it unlisted, you can. If you don't know how, ask a Fugle family member that does. And then upload it, and then go to marfooglenews.com/play-my-video. You can actually find it just on the main website. If you go up to the very top, you'll see a tab. It says Play My Video. When you click on that, you can submit it. All it will have you do is just, basically say, hey, this is my video, grant full permission. And then it will be edited into the Christmas video that we're going to do. Wages is going to help with that. And if he doesn't have time for it, we'll end up, we'll see how fast we can get these videos. So again, otherwise, it's going to be really, really fun. So make sure to get your video in very fast. All right. Let's say try to get it in the next 3 days by Friday, by 4 days. All right. And then Dex, do you want to go over the senators line up to oppose sale of U.S. steel to Japanese firm? Why?
Well, so U.S. Steel, a large U.S. company that has been producing steel here in America and has been very central to a lot of our manufacturing, is now been sold to a Japanese firm. So hours after that deal went through, we've actually got multiple people on different sides of the aisle, so to speak, but also from different states like Ohio, excuse me, and Pennsylvania. So Fetterman and JD Vance are opposing this, and they're trying to drum up support to oppose this deal. So I guess there's probably the deal's not actually gone through. It's been announced. It's typically what happens. They make announcements that this is going to happen, and then they'll go through all the due diligence and legal, back and forth to even make sure it's legit that they can actually do the sale. But apparently, they're worried about jobs. They're worried about ownership, and some don't think that U.S. Steel should be owned by Japan or by a Japanese company, I should say, not Japan, the country. But yes, that's what's happened. So two stories in one. They announced today they're selling to a Japanese firm, and we've got quickly some reactions from senators to try to stop this.
U.S. Steel, owned by Japan, right? And then U.S. Space Command reaches full operational capability. When I first saw the headline, I'm like, huh? You would think that would have happened already, right? The U.S. Space Command, the Pentagon's newest and 11th combatant command, has reached full operating capability, according to its commander, Army General James Dickinson. Love how all the generals all have like the most it's like they changed their name to sound like a general name. General Dickinson made the declaration during a headquarters town hall on December 15th. According to a statement, the U.S. Space Command, or USS Spacecom, was created in 2019 at the direction of former President Donald Trump. It says since its establishment in 2019, USS Spacecom has been singularly focused on delivering exquisite capability to the joint force to deter conflict, defend our vital interests, and if necessary, defeat aggression. This is Space Force, right? I mean, like, it's crazy. I like how it's called Spacecom. But as far as thanks to the disciplined initiative of our people and the support of our joint combined and partner team, I can confidently say that we have reached full operational capability. It says he explained that the announcement followed an in-depth evaluation of the command's capabilities, including the ability to execute its mission on our worst day when we are needed the most. Look at that quote. The ability to execute its mission on our worst day when we are needed the most. I don't know why. I just feel like that was kind of an off thing to say. What would be the worst day? Like everything is shut down? Look at what Space Force is doing. Space Force, by the way, the whole Spacecom, when this was put in, it was after a secret closed door meeting that was like an emergency meeting where Donald Trump went in with a bunch of people. They came out, and then Space Force was born. It was weird. It to me, I thought back then, I thought, did they just discover an asteroid? This was shortly after in late 2018, there was the whole thing. It might have even been right around it when the Sunspot Observatory closed down, and the rumor had it that 6 other solar observatories shut down. Now, that whole thing was really fishy because they said that Black Hawk helicopters came in to close down this solar observatory, and they said it was because this one guy that worked there was running a ring on his computer with We1 stuff, the stuff, Voldemort content for YouTube, really nasty stuff. But they said that they did it because of that. Why did they need Black Hawk helicopters? Why did they come in with this full 9 yards if it was one guy, right? Well, they said that they wanted to turn off the network, whatever else. Well, they also closed off the entire area, and they closed the local post office, which was in the same area. They closed off the whole area because it was basically a little tiny community at this place. They questioned everybody that lived around it. To me, it sounded like that the guy that worked there, and it very well could have been what they said. And they have the patsy went to jail. They charged him, everything else. But it was like, what if it went a totally different way? The hypothetical way in all of our minds was the solar sunspot observatory looks at the sun, right? They say that if an asteroid was to hit us, The worst case scenario is if it came from the sun's direction, because if it came from the sun's direction, we wouldn't see it until it was very, very late, or we wouldn't see it at all because it's hard to look that way. Well, the solar observatory looks at the sun all the time. What if they spotted something straight out of a movie, spotted something, the men in black roll up, they show up in Black Hawk helicopters after he calls, and they shut everything down. They shut down the post office to make sure that he didn't send something out, something straight out of Armageddon or Deep Impact or any other asteroid movie where they shut everything down. They make sure that the information doesn't get out. They question all the neighbors, like, hey, did you talk to that guy at all? He didn't say anything, did he? You have any texts on your phone? It just seemed weird to me. And then they shut down other observatories as well. Ones that possibly, and then basically all of the ones that were owned by the government, those are the ones that they said shut down. Why? Don't know. Shortly thereafter, they made Space Force. I thought it was weird timing. It was very, very odd. And then, of course, there were all of the weird things that came out of Elon after that. That was right before he announced, oh, we're all going to go to Mars, Oh, I'm going to take 1 million people by 2030 to Mars. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then Israel and Russia and China, they all came up with different ways to knock out space junk, lasers that could shoot, asteroids out of the sky, DART, double asteroid redirection test. They had HAMMER, hypervelocity and asteroid mitigation emergency response vehicle. They had Hayabusa, Hayabusa 2, Osiris, Osiris Rex, Osiris Apex. And then a Oumuamua came flying along looking like a turd in the sky, right? And then that was the first interstellar object. Then they had, right at that same time period, they had the Hawaii thing went down at around the same time period. Something flashed above the sky. Local Hawaiians did see a flash. At least that's what was said. The people that saw the Kahon 2 report, when all of a sudden it cut to a Burger King commercial and then they never finished the interview. People say, oh yeah, they were on a tourist boat, 20 miles off or whatever it was, and they saw a flash. Was that an asteroid that hit and they thought it was a nuclear bomb? Remember the guy, the false missile alert? He said, no, I thought it was real. After saying he pushed the wrong button, then we find out it wasn't a button at all. I feel like there's a lot of things that could be connected that really isn't stretching. And it's like, and then Starlink, back then I said, oh, well, I bet Starlink is going to be a grid around the planet to protect against asteroids, right? Then all of a sudden, Starlink announces, after I said, maybe they're detectors, right? Starlink says 1 out of 4 is going to be a hypersonic object detector. I mean, I feel this is one of my side crazy theories. And again, this is all my theory. It's not stuff I can verify. But if you look at the stuff that has happened, and then the movies like Don't Look Up, just weird little things, all of the weird predictive programming in Hollywood. But Adam McKay, who normally does real life, true stories, who they focus on that, because if you're a director like that, you have done your whole career doing true stories, then all of a sudden does Don't Look Up. And it essentially shows in all of his trailers, it says, based on a true story, ... that hasn't happened yet. And then that movie completely imitates Donald Trump with Glenn Close as the female Donald Trump and all of these other things, and even has a tweet that's timed to the exact time period when the sunspot and all of that was going down. Elon Musk posted a picture of Earth with an asteroid going through it. That's in the first 5 seconds of the freaking Don't Look Up. Now, I know all of this is totally nuts, but again, if you're new to my channel, if you're old to my channel, you know I've been talking about this for 5 years. I think something is weird. Do you agree? Do you think I'm totally nuts? It's okay to say so. Is there something I'm missing? I mean, there's a lot more too, and I've talked about it over the years. There's been all sorts of weird things. The CIA, FBI, DHS, something landed off the water, and then they shut down the whole town of one of the ocean city shore things. FBI rented out all the hotels, CIA and DHS and NASA. We're all on the water searching for some object that fell in the water. I don't know. Or was it UFOs? Beats me. But also all of the stuff in space and stuff coming down. It would also explain why they're coming out with UFOs. Objects coming out of the sky and coming down. Maybe we're going through an asteroid field. Who knows? What do you think? Let me know in your comments below. But Spacecom is fully operational. Now, Dex, you have a different take on. So Space Force is totally operational. Is this because they need it to be?
Oh, absolutely. They're preparing again for China. China's going to be ruling the space, as they say, and militarily by 2030. So I think that's, the big threat there is how, and not only that, they've already got a space station up there, a modern. We've got an old, rinkety, old space station up there. They've got a new modern one. They've started to build alliances for their space base they're building on the moon with other countries. So yeah, this is all about trying to catch up, I would really say, with space and the ambitions of someone like China.
And they want to make a multi-mile long structure in space. China, their ambitions are in the next couple of years. In fact, some say that there's going to be hotels in space by 2027. I know that there's a good chunk of you rolling your eyes and saying, oh, that will never happen. That's why I'm excited, because time will tell. If 10 years goes by, either we've destroyed ourselves or there's supposed to be hotels in space and we can all go up and see for ourselves. The argument will be done in our community. And I'm sure most of you will say at that point, something weird will happen and they'll say we can't go to space because of this or that. You might be right. And if that does happen, if in 10 years we can't go ourselves and get a cheap ticket to space, then you may be right. And I'm excited for that to finally be solved. Germany will deploy troops for the first time since World War II. Do you remember what AJ said? The guy who has the cup that keeps tipping over with correct answers. And I know everybody's controversial about him too, but said that the whole thing with Germany and mobilizing for war, and now they're actually deploying troops for the first time since World War II. Mind you, this is off the heels of Foogle fam members and my personal friends getting deployed. There are a lot of deployments, and we called this out only because of the Foogle fam. You guys are all saying your friends are getting deployed. What is going on? Why would they be going to war right now? Also, going back to what I said before, what if it's going to be a fight for what if it is going to be a fight for resources? Maybe they know where, if they did know where something was going to hit and what was going to happen, and sea levels rise because of something else, a massive flood that changes the layout of the map, then maybe they would, fight over where the resources are going to be. Don't know. But a new agreement between Germany and Lithuania will lead to German troops' first permanent foreign deployment since World War II. The announcement was made Monday in Lithuania, where the defense minister Aidas Ianasuskus met with his German counterpart, Boris Pistorius. What a great name. Boris Pistorius, to outline a multi-year roadmap action plan. Or I think that's a wrap. Involving approximately 4,800 permanently stationed German soldiers. Both officials called it the move a historical moment, not just for their nations, but for NATO as well. So German soldiers, the same ones that rumored to be mobilizing for war, are now shipping out 4,800 soldiers towards this whole NATO thing. But yet nothing's going on. Isn't that kind of strange, don't you think? By the way, thank you everybody that has popped in. Whatever Forever, Lord Malfoss, thank you. Genius by Birth. Let's see here. Trinity, Red or Blue Pill. The pyramid in North Dakota is Space Force, the Stanley R. Mickelson Safeguard Complex. The pyramid in North Dakota is Space Force, the Stanley R. Mickelson Safeguard Complex. I have to look that up. Trinity, by the way, if you haven't seen her channel, she goes so deep dives into so many cool subjects, and it's it just so wild that as far as she does all the research and puts it all together, edits for hours and hours, if not weeks, on some of her videos. So make sure to go check her out on marfooglenews.com/friends. She's been a friend of ours and a mod of ours for years. So make sure to go check her out. She's almost at 6,000 or 7,000 subscribers now. Let's see here. Let's go over, and I did want to say thank you. Thank you, Kim Waxman, by the way. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen McMahon. Thank you for being the first one out the gate. Merry Christmas and a peaceful New Year to all of you. Love y'all. Hey, well, thank you, Stephen McMahon, and thank you for the super chat. And thank you over on DLive for all of the folks that are over there. Johnson, Chance Paladin, thank you for the bells. Over there, they've changed the lemons to bells for Christmas. Thank you, Kimbria. Thank you, One Up B. Thank you, RMC17. Holiday Kisser, J Girl, that's me. Island by the Sea, and of course, DTX Preston and MJ1979. Thank you guys for joining us over on our other platforms. And then thank you for all the Rumble folks as well. I appreciate all of you. I wish they had a better system for communicating with you guys. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is a company that, again, makes a device that can protect you against all three phases of an EMP. This can be easily wired into your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, pretty much anything you want to protect against an EMP or even a Carrington level event from the sun. It can actually protect against CMEs. This can be wired in. It will ground that signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second. And it's going to get you through and keep you running so you can get out to bug out or get home to bug in. It's not something you will need until either one of these events happen. Many people believe, regardless, at one point we will have one of these happens. I mean, it's a fact. We will have a Carrington level event hit Earth. It's a matter of when, not if. Now, if it happens in 50 years and our grid is advanced and it's totally hardened, then that's great. But if it happens sooner than later, which many say that is overdue, then we're going to be screwed. If you want to stop that from happening, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off per device, and you will, of course, help our channel at the same time. We're completely independent. We're on our own. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We have the Foogle fam. So thank you guys, and we do appreciate everybody that supports us through that. Or if you guys share us out, or of course tell a friend, bring in a coworker or sister or brother in, doesn't matter. Bring somebody to the show. And I've been talking about this a lot too, and everybody has mixed feelings about TikTok, and I know a bunch of you probably have swiped 10,000 times in TikTok. I know that there's a lot of folks, including some of my best friends, that they're creators on TikTok now. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody that does TikTok. I have not done TikTok. You guys know I've even thought about doing it to reach a younger audience because all the young people are just completely gone off of other platforms. And they're the ones who really matter right now. But as far as what it's doing to people, I think it's really clear. If you scroll for any amount of time, you will see that there are one after another, one video after another, if not lives, with super propaganda all over that platform. And I mean, it is pushed. It through the algorithms and how it is pushed, it goes to everybody. There are videos that all the controversial topics, as long as you are on the left side of those topics, you will be safe to put that on that platform. If you are on the right side of those topics, you will be booted off of TikTok. So I think it is pretty messed up, and it's China running it. A lot of people said, oh, well, I think that they want to get rid of TikTok because the U.S. can't control it. That may be so as well, but I do believe that there's a lot of propaganda on there. I see it with my own eyes. I see the live streams that are pushed with 10 million likes, and they're talking about all of the main issues. But of course, they're centered on proving that they are only the left viewpoints of that view. Well, a lot of folks are also talking about what is popping up on TikTok. There are people at work, at gas stations, filming themselves for 10 hours a day, just doing, customers, dealing with customers. Countless people that are on camera not even knowing it. People that film themselves getting drunk on a Friday night. There's just so many weird things. There's circus sideshows there. There's people that sell things, people that make arts and crafts. There's people that do everything. But one thing that's really gotten the attention over the years is these soldiers that are on there. The youth, again, now they say exclusive U.S. Army faces TikTok mutiny as Gen Z recruits whine about low pay and crappy food and fitness tests while on bases in uniform. You guys know I've talked about this for a long time. I've seen the videos. There are videos that have gone viral and they constantly push them on that platform. At any given time, there's one or two of these big videos that have millions and millions of views. We're talking 50, 60, 70 million views of soldiers going around and asking everybody, hey, why did you join the military? Or, would you leave the military right now if you could? And they say, oh, yeah, I want to get the hell out of here. I don't know why I joined. I hate it here. I was stupid. What do you think that does to the young kids that are obviously stealing their parents' phones, watching TikTok? Do you think that they're going to want to grow up and be a soldier, or are they going to want to grow up and be a TikToker? Are they going to want to be a soldier, or they want to be a YouTuber? Which, again, YouTuber is the number one job now. No longer astronaut, no longer policeman, no, none of that, because now kids hate police, which is crazy. Hate astronauts, totally off that. They want to be a YouTuber. They want to do this, which again is just absolutely insane. But these kids, they're talking about crappy food and low pay. That's the military, because the majority of it was supposed to be doing it as a duty for your country. But with the view as low on the U.S. as it is now, do you think that they're going to be like, oh, yeah, the pay's great and the food's awesome? The whole point is they tear you down and they make you a new human being. It's not for everybody, but for the people that do the army and military, they're sacrificing something. It's a sacrifice. That's why you are immortalized even after you pass, because you are a veteran. You've served. You have put your time in. You've sacrificed for the country you live in. That's how I view it. What do you guys think about these 20-year-olds whining about low pay and crappy food? And why do you think that this is going viral on TikTok? Do you think that this is helping our recruitment numbers, which are all falling short to the point where they're doing emergency recruitments? Dex, when you saw this, what did you think? Like, it's just like they're doing videos on base. Wouldn't you think that sergeants would be tearing them a new one?
Yeah. Are they doing it as a way to try to get, kicked out? I don't know that they necessarily want a dishonorable discharge, but yeah, I mean, like it's very frustrating. And now there's two ways to look at it. One, you can look at it from the perspective of the people that are doing it. It's like, that's really horrible. Why are you doing that? You should be proud to serve your military. The flip side, we should also think about what is it our military is doing and recruiting, and what can they be doing to create a better environment, and one in which people are proud of the service that they signed up for and for doing. So there's two sides to this. And I think we should look at both. But at the same time, I also think there's a big chunk of this is coming from the generational that we have sort of allowed to develop from a lot of the social changes that have gone on, whether it be social media or just the changes we've allowed in our society. Whether you think it should have happened or didn't or should not have happened, either way, those changes have an effect on every generation. And maybe I'm just sounding old, because I'm sure when I was young, somebody my age when I was 18 was probably saying the same thing about me. These dumb whippersnappers and their crazy beatbox music or whatever it was back then. So, uh, you know, I'm sure it's the same story, different generation, but at the same time, we've got to look at the problem and how to solve it.
Well, and then they say the problem, solution to the problem is get rid of TikTok, right? But I don't know. I guess there are things that are said on TikTok that can't be said on other platforms. It's absolutely just wild that the the landscape has changed so drastically in the last 5 years since I started YouTube. It was like we went through adpocalypse after adpocalypse after adpocalypse, and it changed the landscape of the entire platform. But it also changed all of the platforms. All of the platforms now remove you or deplatform you if you go against the grain. And then once you're that, you're gone. Twitter has recently taken a stand, but we don't know if Twitter or X is actually doing it because we don't know if there are two very, very rich evils at battle right now. Elon could be representing one and Mr. Gates the other, like we don't know what's actually happening here. But one thing is pretty clear, and it seems like it is there and right in front of us, is that China is meddling with our country. If you understand the actual algorithms behind TikTok and ByteDance and understand that this was almost a weapon. The ByteDance had an algorithm that was so powerfully addictive, they turned it into an app, and now they're able to control people. Not to mention you get into the territory of neurostrike and all of that. You can control the world. It's that serious, and people think it's a joke. The TikTok army, as far as that goes, I think the sergeants, if they see, but that's the thing, the whole military the military is a unit. There is no individuality. You are part of a group. When you are no more special. It doesn't matter what color, race, or creed, religion, whatever you are. You're all equal in the military at your rank. You're by rank, and that's it. There is there's no individuality of it. Now there is. They're introducing individuality into our culture, and what that also spurs is this massive, just global wide narcissism of everybody focused on themselves and self-victimization and just all of the bad things that come with focusing on individuality. It's like all the negatives are coming out, not the positives. And then a driver who rammed a van in JB's security detail motorcade charged with DUI. Now, how, with a motorcade, was this guy even able to get close? That's what I heard a million times over with this. How did somebody even get close to JB's motorcade? Whether he went through a light or not, whatever it was, the driver of the car that plowed into a parked Secret Service van that was part of President JB's security detail on Sunday has been charged with drunken driving. It says that police in Wilmington, Delaware have charged the motorist, a 46-year-old Wilmington man, with driving a vehicle under the influence and an inattentive driving. The police department spokesperson said investigations determined that the crash was an accidental collision. In the first 15 minutes after this happened, they were almost talking like it was a T attack. I believe they had to re-edit it. They thought it was a white gentleman in his 50s, and then turns out it was a black gentleman, probably in his 30s. Oh no, he's it says 46 years old. Yeah, a black gentleman in his 40s. And there were a lot of crazy comments on this, but mostly people were like, how did this even get close? Doesn't make sense. Something smells about it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, and let's see here. Oh, by the way, thank you, Sapezia, Mama Hamster. You don't really pop into chat much. I've never said the name Mama Hamster. Thank you for joining as a member. And then Robert Kennedy, thank you for joining. Tristan Green, the remaining remnant, thank you for renewing. And then, of course, MWC, Miss Jammer. Thank you, Jammer and Miss Jammer. Black Sheep, Middle Wharf, Beans and Frank, Christine Zagorski. Thank you all for rejoining this month. And thank you, special thank you to Julie Pilkerton this week. Blue Boy 1968 Chappie says, time to ban TikTok. It's a Xi propaganda tool. Yeah, and what's crazy is well, here's the bad part. They'll use TikTok to be able to ban that, but then they'll also be able to use that to ban other things under the same guise. That's what scared all of us about it, is like, if they say, oh, well, this is propaganda, they could then also label anything and everything else propaganda and close it down because of that. They could claim everything is a Chinese propaganda, right? Like the Red Scare. Grace for you too. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super sticker. And then Dex, why leave the world behind? Viewers think that the Obamas are sending a warning with movie. This is the New York Post, by the way.
Yeah, so it's now mainstream, right? It's now in mainstream. That headline alone, I think, says it all. We've talked about this. Not only did we go over the trailer, we've talked about little bits and pieces here because we're doing our own research in not just high level surface, which a lot of people have done. We're like going in frame by frame on this movie, looking for everything. But it's now in the mainstream in the sense that
A week
the
doing
mainstream media is saying the same thing. They may be poking at it a little bit and saying, well, look at these people questioning it and throwing out, the same various reasons why. But for them to do that, that's pretty significant. And, they go on to talk specifically about Esmail and his, the relationship he had with Obama and his experience in working with him, and how he even said, hey, he helped ground me a little bit into how things might unfold in reality. That's a quote from Esmail, who's the director, saying President O may have the experience he does have. He was able to ground me a little bit on how things might unfold in reality. I mean, that, for one, tells you he was involved, and number two, tells you the insight that somebody like a former president has on this type of stuff.
Mind you, when we first talked about the trailer, people said, oh no, he bought the rights for that film. A lot of comments on that first video. They said, no, Obama had nothing to do with that video. It's made off of a book. First of all, it's way different from the book. They changed specific things that were, everything they changed in that movie was meant so you would notice they changed it. Down to the name of the main character, which was George Washington in the book, which is a president's name. They purposely probably changed that so people wouldn't go, oh, it's supposed to represent the main black protagonist was because they knew people were going to make connections to it. They didn't want them to make directly like say he's the Obama character or whatever. But as far as we have found things that no one has found in that movie, and it's going to shock you. It is absolutely going to blow your mind. Things that are just so astronomically impossible and match up so freakishly crazy. And once you realize that every part of that was a set and that somebody hand painted it or hand did it, you're going to go, oh my gosh. There's continuity things that happen in movies, like the paintings in the background, things like that. One of the main paintings still cannot be decoded by anybody. Changed 3 main times. It's a 9-foot painting. It's not like they didn't notice that they changed that. It was part of the artistic direction. And people say, oh, it was showing that the white and the black were separated, and then by the end, it's all mushed together. Obviously, the message is civil conflict. But there's more. There's so much more in that movie that you have no idea. Donut went deep into so much other crazy stuff. Went into the symbols on the window frames and things. But even he did not catch the stuff we caught. Freaky stuff that I just could not believe matched up. Both Dex and I. Dex, would you not agree? There were a couple things, and we can't tell you because when we show you, you're going to be like, what? There were things and
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Images that we could not believe were in there. It blew my mind. So when go watch the movie, the video on Interstellar about how much Christopher Nolan put into that movie. Each book on the bookcase in Interstellar has a tie-in to the movie. Each one. down to one of the books has something, context to the story that made it to where one part of the movie they have a ticking sound in the background, and that ticking sound is actually timed exactly to how the time was traveling 7 light years away in Earth. So every second that ticks, it's 7 years back home. So every time the sound ticks in the movie, they don't even say this subconsciously. That's 7 years that their family at home is aging. Just so many crazy things. So when people think that there's not messages put into these movies, you are absolutely wrong. Read Mark Dice's books on he has facts and footnotes that prove how connected media is to the real life and reality of things. It's absolutely freaky. Because people call this stuff all, crazy and nuts, right? But the more you look into it, it's absolutely nuts. They said quotes in that movie. They said quotes that either myself or other of my peers have said. The Kevin Bacon, oh, you got to look at the back page. Like, how many times have I said that over the last 5 years? We're not looking at the front page stuff. You got to go to the back page. I really haven't heard anybody else say that. It was weird, and I'm not saying that they said that off of us, but that's how I say it every time for 5 years, and it's a small community, and they're making fun of our community at the same time too. But yeah, for them to make that movie, and people thought that it wasn't related at all, and that they didn't have any part of it. They were directly involved in every step of the way. Even they in the interview with Jimmy Fallon said that he was involved in the whole thing. Very, very crazy stuff. And if you realize what's being set up in the United States with all of us, how divided we are, that's really scary. Illicit content on Elon Musk's X draws EU investigation. So what happened on X, Dex, and why is EU getting involved?
Well, we had announced that they were looking into this a while back, but now they've formally filed the investigation. So, and what they're doing is they're saying that there was information that he's allowed on the platform that goes against their laws, and specifically around certain types of speech, misinformation, and other divisive content. And now they're launching a formal investigation against him. So this is just one more of the throws to go after X or go after Elon or both. And it just seems to me that the EU is more quick to jump. I mean, we've seen the US do it as well in many different ways, whether it's the SEC and others. But I think we're going to continue to see more of this, and this is just another prime example.
And the Digital Services Act, which if you're watching this now, or you might not be able to watch this right now if you're over there, the European Union is way ahead of us in that kind of narrative control. Okay, this is something we fear here in the United States going through, and there are parts of this already being talked about. Nikki Haley, which I hope none of you end up voting for just for this reason, whether you believe in putting something in the box at all, either way. She wants to attach everyone's name and address and social security to their internet name, because then you would stand by what you say. That blows out of the water any kind of whistleblower protection, any kind of protection against retribution against speaking out. I mean, like freedom of speech. Like there should be no reason to attach all of that. And they're already doing that, and they've already done that in other places in the world. It's absolutely crazy to think this. Nikki Haley wants that to happen. And I'm not talking about politics or anything else, but that alone, whatever else her other stands on, she said that a day after, and Ramaswamy or what is it, Vivek Ramaswamy? That was the one thing that I pulled out of that was really great. And if you fact check that, the day after, all of a sudden, the Black and The Rock invest, all of a sudden she comes out and says, oh yeah, we should all attach our names and social securities to our internet usage. That way you'll have to stand by what you say. That's what they do in China. Absolutely not. And people should, if you do support her other stuff, that's fine. Then write her a letter and say, if you do run, you can't do that one. I think everybody can agree on that. Like, does anybody support that? I think she knows that nobody wants that. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Inergy. On a real note, this Flex 1500 has come in clutch so many times in the last couple years. This was something that I waited for myself for 6 months when these first came out. And once I got it, it was one of the happiest days ever because I've always wanted one, a solar generator, and to be able to get power from the sun. And I always thought that it was unattainable as far as solar power and everything else. As far as this unit, it makes so many different things possible. As far as when your power goes out, to be able to have the ability to put out a couple folding panels and to be able to get power from the sun, unlimited power every single day, is absolutely amazing. But on a normal basis, when we do have power, you can charge this from the wall, have it ready to go and store it up. And then when the power goes out, you can switch over to this. You don't have to go to a friend's or family member's house, especially like in our case, we had we had babies. Power died, power went out. We were able to continue like normal with babies. Like it was a huge deal. A couple of years ago, this came in clutch the most when we had our power go up for 3 days. But this is one of the best things because one, it's silent, so nobody's going to hear you have one from 3 blocks away like a gas powered. And two, it is again something that does not require gas. That's something that's going to be a huge thing. As far as it's not complicated, it's very easy. The solar panels, they don't have any external, there's no on and off button. There's a cord that goes from the panel into this. You put the panel out, you plug it in. If you have multiple panels, you daisy chain it like Christmas lights. It's so freaking easy. I recommend their folding panels, but you can go do your own shopping on the panel side. And then you can expand this up to 96 batteries. So you can build it up over years. Again, you're going to get a huge savings through us. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. And of course, you're going to support our channel at the same time. But I would not say that this is not the best if it wasn't. It is really the best, I believe, on the market now, because there are other ones that you can expand. But this one, they are building mods for it all the time. So if there's anything in the future, any new technology, they'll be able to just make a new Lego type brick and then add that feature in. It already has the ability to turn into UPS. It already has the supercharging unit that came out. I honestly don't think that there's anything that they can't do with how they've set this up. They can basically come up with new technology and then add it in later. That's what's so awesome about this. And then they now have the tactical. They are so good that the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory chose Inergy, and they ended up designing the Flex Tactical. So this is going out with the Army. They won the SBIR Phase 2 contract, and these are going to be shipped out to the Army. So if you want the Tactical, there's a longer wait, but this one has built-in heaters into all the batteries, a 1,500-pound latch system, steel reinforced frame, water and dust resistant. Like, this is all out. I don't think most people need this, but if you go for the most tactical thing out there, then this is definitely the one. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy to check them both out. And again, make sure to use that code Marfoogle because you'll save money. And I think that right away, anybody that already has one knows how useful they are. You can use it for regular power, use it to power your tools where you don't have an extension cord. It's come in clutch camping. It's come in clutch at work. It's really, really awesome. marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. And artificial intelligence now capable of creating new AI without human intervention, scientists say. Dex, so AI can create AI.
Exactly. So as we've seen with these large language models, they can easily create code and create other things, and obviously create language or talk, and create content. But creating code has been one of the things they've been able to do. Well, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and other universities have gotten together and demonstrated that they can use a large AI system to create small AI systems. When I say small, meaning not something as big as ChatGPT, which has to be up in the cloud with like massive amounts of servers powering it, to something very, very specific, like something tactical, like a specific job. That could say work in a water plant or do work in a specific component. It's tiny machines is what they would refer to them as. But the point, and so that's all warm and fuzzy, like, oh cool, we can get all these new things built because we can just let AI build it. The scary part that we need to think about is what they're talking about is letting AI build more AI. And that is what's very much, I think, something that just takes it to a whole new level where we need to be going, what's going on here? Because it's getting really crazy and getting really far out of hand. Certainly, I'm sure there's people out there that say, oh, this is just, improving coffee machines and making dishwashers work better or whatever that may be, because it's small tech and it's small functional job specific things that the AI is making mini AI for. But the fact that AI is creating new AI models, that's just, I think we're getting to a point where we're really going to be in a place where we're not going to know what's happening. And AI is going to be spitting out a lot of things and in control of a lot of things that it's going to potentially backfire on us. Right now, no. But tomorrow, yes, get worried.
How do they set the boundaries for this? So is AI going to set its own boundaries and say, I'm not going to make a sentient being, right? Later down the road when it has more capability? Or what if the first AI ends up being able to reach outside of its boundaries and then create something? We're talking about it. They believe they wanted to take a 6-month pause, which 6 months has already gone by, mind you, since that whole thing went down. They wanted a 6-month pause. That's how fast it's going. Imagine where we are today. Well, about 6 months later, Sam Altman was fired, and it was because a letter went to the boards, and they say later it came out because everybody kept demanding, and who knows if this is actually true, but this is what the official story was, is that the scientists and these people wrote letters to the board of OpenAI, and they said that Sam Altman wasn't being completely honest and communicating, and they believe that he may be closer to superintelligence or artificial general intelligence than they thought. Like secretly they're making a sentient AI and this thing's going to be as smart as a human and be able to do everything a human does. That's absolutely terrifying. And when they said a 6-month pause, that seems so little, like, oh, we just need to pause for 6 months. Well, the reason why they couldn't do that is China is not going to pause. Any other country is not going to pause their research, right? If we wait 6 months, then China is going to be 6 months ahead. And as the chief software officer of the Pentagon, who as he left and wrote a letter. He basically said he didn't want the blood on his hands. I've actually talked to we talked to the NeuroStrike LJ Eads, and he's personal friends with that chief software officer. It was a position that was created at the Pentagon for him specifically. His department was monitoring all of this. He left and said China is ahead in AI, is ahead in artificial intelligence and autonomous AI, and said once you get ahead in this kind of thing, there is no catching up because we will always be hitting their last milestone. Once you're ahead, it's kind of like you're running a race where there is no stamina, there is no tiring down. It's always going to be ahead. You're going the same exact speed, only they're 20 miles ahead, and they're always going to be 20 miles ahead. Left and said didn't want blood on its hands because there is no solution for this. They are ahead. That is terrifying. We didn't even pause. And I can't imagine where China is right now. Look at what's happening in the news and the stories that are happening. What is happening on the back end? And then you think about NeuroStrike, the TikTok stuff that's going on right now. It's like this could already be in play right now. Artificial intelligence could be making the decisions for China's government, for God's sakes. Maybe Xi has got his finger on the button, but maybe artificial intelligence is their advisor, and they're telling them how to take over the world. We don't know. People think that this is sci-fi. This is no longer theoretical. It's happening. This thing could design. You could put this in charge and say, "Hey, I want to replace every employee in my business." This thing will then go, "What does this person do? We'll make a robot that can do this. We'll make a system that can do that. We'll make a system that can do that." All of a sudden, you have an entire store without people. Mind you, I just tweeted this on X just today. So if you go to my Twitter and Dex, if we can attach this, this is, let's see here. Yeah. So I won't play here. Check this out. This is Camus. Yeah,
no workers, and I'm going to show you how. What's up, guys? What's up, guys? This is McDonald's first automated restaurant with no workers, and I'm going to show you how it works.
So he proceeds to go in, and this McDonald's, and this is just an example, and we knew this was. We know this is going to happen. People think, "Oh, well, it won't catch on." It will catch on if people use it. And that's the stupid part. Nobody should be using these restaurants. People need to not purchase and spend their money at a restaurant or any business that goes fully autonomous. This is the dine-in experience, which they've done something similar before. Now they are doing drive-through with the robots, and they already started doing it. If you have noticed, in the drive-thrus of many of these places, they have automatic drink machines. They have all these things to speed it up. But they are also taking the need for human beings to be out of the picture. If you haven't noticed, McDonald's already has machines at their worked stores that do all the drinks for them. It's a machine that automatically does them in order, and all these people have to do, first job teenagers, is go, and hand it to you. That's it. They already have robots that are doing that. So why will they need a human being with L&I cases, possible injuries, possible life insurance, possible lawsuits from sexual harassment? They don't need any of that. Not with this system. And that's what's terrifying about this. They are already doing this. You think this is a concept. It's not going to be concept for long, especially if people shop there. They're going to shop there out of curiosity. McDonald's is going to go over their numbers and go, this got more numbers than a regular store because people came from all over the place to go to it. That's stupid. Nobody should be going to that store. Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, AK Forever in My Heart. Thank you for coming over from Rumble to say hi. Again, it says flipped over to YT to say howdy, but going back to the Rumb. Love our Fugle fam. God bless you, Adam, Dex, and all the mods. Merry Christmas and blessed Christmas to all. Well, thank you. And AK, thank you so much for stopping by. The billionaire founder behind China's AI giant SenseTime has died of an unknown illness at 55. Unknown illness. That's kind of like all the people associated with Jeffrey EpiPen, right? Tang Xiao, the billionaire founder of China's AI giant SenseTime, perished on Friday of undisclosed, quote, health issues, according to a statement released by a party state-owned company. It is with great sorrow that we announce the passing of Professor Tang Xiao, our beloved founder, a renowned artificial intelligence scientist, director of Pujiang Lab, director of Shanghai AI Lab, which we've talked about, the Shanghai AI Lab. They're doing crazy stuff. Professor of the Chinese University of Hong Kong, read a statement from SenseTime. It says Professor Tang passed away due to health issues on December 15th, 2023. The obituary posted that the company did not specify what type of health issues. So it said the controversial Chinese AI company founded in 2014 was once the world's most valuable AI startup, due in part to its direct connections and funding from the Chinese government. The company developed technologies including facial recognition, object detection, and video and image analysis using AI. So it says Tang's death comes just weeks after a U.S.-based short seller, Grizzly Research, accused the Chinese AI firm of artificially inflating its revenue, suggesting that SenseTime engaged in highly questionable revenue round-tripping schemes. Well, if he's passed away, then close the case, right? We don't need to investigate that guy. He's passed away. Wouldn't want to put his family through that. It's the Chinese honor system. But who knows? I'm surprised they didn't say how he perished. And then Dex, AI trained on millions of life stories.
Well, yeah, but how about this? We as the U.S. Government in America is fighting hard to keep China's AI advancements from growing. We've limited the number of chips or the types of chips they can get their hands on. We've done all sorts of sanctions and anything we possibly can to slow their development of AI. So whether or not this story comes out, with an excuse that says, "Oh, maybe the company was doing some bad things," one of their main leaders of AI mysteriously perishes, while the two big adversaries are competing over AI. That's worth thinking about. Yes. Now moving on.
So a 3-letter agency could have whacked the guy.
They could have. Why couldn't they have? But anyway, moving on from that crazy theory out there. But some of the other stories with AI, they're always giving us a lot of these nice, lovely stories. But there's one that's talking about the ability to predict with what they're saying is 100% accuracy. And actually, I think I jumped ahead. I'm on a different article. We'll get to that one in a minute. So let me go back to this one we're on, which is training millions of people. So there's two stories here. This one about that happened in Denmark. What they did was they took all of this data about people from the number of times they visited the doctors, what types of doctors, where they went to school, all this information about them from like 2008 to 2020, 6 million people, and they turned it into textual information that described them. Then they fed it into a large language model like ChatGPT, not ChatGPT specifically, but they built one for it. And they were able to determine more information about people, like being able to predict their whether or not they were going to die early, things like that. And all sorts of other social factors. They didn't do this because they were trying to find all this information out. They were trying to see would it actually work. And fortunately, this is coming from a university, and they're putting it up as a warning saying, hey, this type of technology doesn't need to get into the hands of business. It doesn't necessarily, I also think it doesn't need to get in the hands of government for that matter. When you think about it, having the ability for them to take your life's information and put it together and then be able to predict your outcome, whether it be how long you're going to live or any other thing about you, like what direction you lean, what idea you may have in the future, because they look at your past and they're using AI to do it. And that's what's so scary about this particular experiment they did in Denmark. Now, fortunately, they're bringing it up as a warning and a risk, but I certainly don't think that matters to the profiteering businesses that are out there that are going to look at this and say, hey, there's all sorts of things we can do with this data. How much more can we get? And then the next story, Adam, I think is also yet another AI story that is pretty fascinating about what they're able to predict now.
Transition right into that one. 100% accuracy. A lot of people probably thought they were seeing the headline for the last one and going, what? They could predict your death? 100% accuracy? That would be terrifying. But they can predict this. Childhood autism. Go ahead.
Yeah. So they've come up with a way to take a photograph of the retinas of a child, screen them through an AI algorithm that they built, and they're claiming they have 100% accuracy now of being able to diagnose autism with this, and it's all because of AI. So, yes, there are really nice things you can get from this technology, and this is maybe a good example. Obviously, autism not necessarily a diagnosis you want to hear about, but you also it's hard sometimes to actually get the diagnosis, and whether or not the diagnoses are accurate or whatnot. I guess we'll have to set that aside and just talk about from the medical standpoint. That's what they're claiming, and they're going to probably come out not just with this, but they're probably going to be coming out with more and more and more diagnoses with and algorithms and screening systems that they can build to give diagnoses of other things and bring up the accuracy rate to a much higher level. Now, the question we'll have to ask is how accurate is it really? Do we trust computers? Do we trust these systems? But again, there's a good side to some of this AI technology, but it's also a very deep and dark and scary side to what a lot of this technology can do.
Think about if they gave this to police officers. You know how they look in your eyes to see if you're drunk? They could use some sort of system like this. Be like, you're drunk and autistic. Uh, and then we have scientists claim that they've had a 20-minute conversation with a whale and say it could pave the way for conversations with aliens someday. They, of course, had to connect it to aliens. What I think is way more fascinating and way more insane is they're saying that they have possibly talked to a whale. We actually mentioned this like 3 years ago, and I think we just kind of touched on it a couple weeks ago. Like if you could talk to animals, and that the fact that the animals, we were talking about the orca whales. Remember this? The orca whales communicate so crazy coordinated, where they can have multiple orca whales. There's a seal on a patch of ice. They coordinate, have 3 whales do a wave. They'll swim really fast, do a wave that actually pushes the water over the ice cap and makes the ice cap tilt, and then send the seal launching off the other side. And they've coordinated with the other whale that sits on the other side and waits and basically grabs it. So they coordinate to take the seal out. There's so many little things. I mean, there's so much more advanced stuff than that with whales, orca whales, beluga whales, dolphins, obviously, as well. Very, very smart to communicate. But they're saying that they actually could talk to them. Is this not like the most fascinating thing in the world? It says it might sound like a scene out of Avatar 2, but scientists claim it's now possible to have a conversation with a whale following a 20-minute chat with a humpback whale in Southeast Alaska. A 38-year-old whale named Twain spoke with researchers from SETI Institute and UC Davis by responding to a pre-recorded contact call. This marks the first communication between humans and whales in their own language, according to the team. Looking ahead, the researchers say the conversation could pave the way for interactions with aliens in the future. Dex, like, this is nuts.
Well, what's even crazier about this is they didn't say anything about using advanced technology. This is just doing pre-AI research, right? They were trying to talk and communicate to an animal in a language that has no intelligence in the same sense that we have as humans. Now, I could just imagine, take somebody that spoke Russian and only spoke Russian, a young child, and another young child that only spoke English, and you lock them in a room and have them communicate with one another. They're not going to understand each other's language, right? That's difficult enough, but at least they can hold up a red ball and a blue ball and say, hey, this is round, it's a ball, and sort of you could start to learn the words from one another as to what they mean, right? You can't really do that with a whale. You can't say, hey, whale, I'm going to wave at you and say hello, and that's what it means. Like, and I guess that's the challenge they're looking for, because what they're trying to solve is when there's going to come a point as we go off Earth, and that's why SETI is the one behind this. When we go off Earth, we're going to be encountering potentially things that you need to communicate with. And how would you communicate with something that you have absolutely zero ability to actually start a conversation, unless they happen to be highly intelligent, bipedal, humanoid looking beings that you can start to reference visual objects and start to put words to, right? So I think that's the challenge they were trying to face, and apparently they pulled it off. But the question I have is, once they start this, imagine when they start to layer in something like AI to say, hey, solve these big problems. This is going to happen really quick. And this isn't even an AI story. It's just because we were talking about AI, I started thinking about it. And I'm like, wow, they solved this, they started this just with humans. So imagine where you layer in the computer on this, it's going to go pretty far.
Where you take super intelligence, it's able to categorize every sound, every, exchange that they do, and note it where no human could possibly keep track of all the different sounds. They could then travel with the whales, record them, and essentially figure out their entire language. They could start talking back to, Imagine this, Dr. Doolittle, like in a world 5 years from now where this fictional thing of talking to dogs and talking to animals is a reality. None of this stuff is a stretch anymore. It kind of reminds me the other like last year they talked about how they possibly sent a message into the quantum. What was that, Dex? Do you remember the story? It was talking about how they sent a message into the quantum realm. Somehow with quantum teleporting or do you remember what it was called? If you remember in the audience, let us know, because both of us we don't
Yeah,
have
I don't remember that one.
crazy genius memories like AGI does. Do you guys remember this? And technically they were talking about how it might be used. It could send a message through time. Just crazy stuff. Let me see if do you remember this? They sent it through something quantum. I'm trying to remember. I will remember I'll remember during the shoutro. Speaking of Dex, before we go over and let us know how we get to the website, just a reminder, make sure to go check out Nutrient Survival. Again, we definitely recommend, there's several brands we recommend. The reason we recommend Nutrient Survival, I got turned onto this through Alaska Prepper. They ended up sending me food about a year and a half ago, and I was meaning to keep most of it. I ended up eating all of it. In fact, through one time or another, I ended up actually eating this for just regular food. I was lazy and didn't want to go to the store. I ate one, and I was like, wow, this is really amazing. I ended up eating one of the mac and cheese tubs, and it was absolutely unbelievable. Other than that, though, everything in this lineup has 6 times more nutrients than the average food. This is, again, a very high quality freeze-dried food. It's all made in small batches, and it's all made, in fact, they put it together with special ops grade specs. So this is really, really incredible freeze-dried food. It keeps in almost all of the flavor as far as freeze-dried. But as well as that, they focus on making it nutritional. So go to marfoogle.com/NS. It's very easy. Just add a /NS for Nutrient Survival. You'll save 15% off with the code MARF. And again, that it may change in the near future, so make sure to get that 15% off while you can. They have all sorts of great packs. You can get, of course, anything from a day to 3 months to whatever your heart imagines. So go to marfooglenews.com/NS. You'll save 15% and you will help our channel out at the same time. marfooglenews.com/NS. And then Dex, how do we get to the website? How do we do this?
Well, look, the easiest way, and I tell us every night, the easiest way is to go to the description, but it's sort of the hardest way too, because they hide it. But if you just open the description right down below, there's a first link. It says show notes. If you click that, it'll take you to the website, this page with everything on it, including some additional content that wasn't there, wasn't covered in the show, and anything that we've added during the show will be added to this page. So if you click on it, you can get to all of the things we've just talked about, plus some additional bonus pieces that are there as well. Or just type in marfooglenews.com and look for today's thumbnail and click it. It'll open up right here.
And there's lots of great stuff. Like I said, read the rest of some of those. There's some really, really, really good stuff later on in the first 4 articles. So jump back to those. Thank your mods right now. Drop an M in the chat for your mods for keeping it awesome in the chat. Thank you, Head Trip, Briar Patch, Naughty Kitten, Gale Firestorm, Chance. Thank you for holding it down over on DLive. Thank you, T. Tyson, for subscribing. In fact, there's a bunch of new people that just followed. Thank you, Leland Schultz, Ryan Becker, Lisa Ivy. Thank you, Blue Dragon. Thank you for subscribing. A McG, thank you. Jonathan Ellington, Monica Day, Nancy G, and David Thomas. Thank you for subscribing today. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for whoever brought those folks in. I highly doubt they found us organically. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you to the Foogle fam for bringing people in. Stephen McMahon, thank you. Western Body, thank you guys for supporting our channel. Thank you for supporting our families. Couldn't say thank you enough. Thank you, everybody that stuck around for a very long time. Thank your mods. Looks like a lot of folks are dropping that M. Thank you. Hit that like. It costs nothing, James Jackson says. Well, yes, it does. But I think people have a thing. Like, you can't tell people to press like. They've got to press like on their own. So don't press like. It's broken. Don't press it. Rebel against the man and press the like button, because the man doesn't want you pressing the like button. All right. Matthew Shaw, Tara Williams, American Argonaut, Mir 504, Susan Big, ready now. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. And then I was number 2. Hey, that's awesome, Gunslinger. And then Nancy, thank you as well. Thank you just for subscribing. And as always, if you subscribe during the show, I always try to shout you out. Thank you. Oh, Steve, thank you for subscribing. Age Anderson, thank you for subscribing. Hey, a few new people. Thank you. If you're not subscribed, please do. That's the only way you're going to get notifications. So if you hit the subscribe button right now, I will see it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Dex, thank you so much for everything you do.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Yep. Kyoko. Lisa Dabney. Patrick, and then a Patrick, and then a Patrick, and then a Patrick. Dex died in a bottle. 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 Dex died. Let's make a fresh one. Let's make a fresh one for today's top supporters. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you. Looks like today's top supporter is going to be Grace for you too. Thank you, and thank you. Grace for you too. Liz W. and AK Forever in My Heart. I love that name. Close second. Thank you, guys.